Hey there, I'm the MadCatster. I'm glad to see you here. You guys, I'm coming to you on location. I am down in beautiful Sea Island, Georgia, visiting family, but I wanted to bring you this update about the Logan Paul Coffeezilla lawsuit. You know me, I've got the deets and all the receipts, so buckle up and let's go. Unfortunately, we don't have Sybil the Enforcer here today because the cats are all back home, but I wanted to bring you this update. As you guys know, Logan Paul and Coffeezilla are involved in a lawsuit over the whole crypto zoo incident, I'll call it. Coffeezilla called it a scam. Initially, it looked like Logan Paul had accepted Coffeezilla's apology and that was going to be the end of the controversy between them because Coffeezilla had done some stories on YouTube about the whole crypto zoo fiasco. And it looked like they were going to let bygones be bygones. However, Logan Paul turned around and then filed a defamation lawsuit against Coffeezilla. At the same time, in another U.S. District Court, also in Texas, there's a class action lawsuit pending against Logan Paul by people who say they were defrauded by Logan Paul when they took part in the whole crypto zoo mess. Well, what Coffeezilla is alleging in his answer to Logan Paul's lawsuit is that Logan Paul brought the lawsuit against Coffeezilla solely as a way to obtain discovery that he was not able to get in his class action lawsuit because the court would not allow him to obtain certain evidence that he wanted. And so what Coffeezilla is saying is, in order to do an end run around that, Logan Paul has now filed a lawsuit against Coffeezilla and is using that lawsuit to try to get the documents that he wasn't able to get in the class action lawsuit because he wants to use that information to defend himself in the class action lawsuit. Now, this is what basically, in a nutshell, Coffeezilla has told the court in arguing that Logan Paul's lawsuit against Coffeezilla should be combined with the class action lawsuit because it deals with some of the same issues and same sets of facts. That hasn't been ruled on yet by the court to see whether they're going to consolidate the cases. We won't hear about that until sometime in September. But in the interim, Logan Paul has subpoenaed two people. One is the main person who basically the class action lawsuit was started because of, and an attorney representing the class in the class action lawsuit. And Logan Paul's trying to get them to provide him with documents alleging that they're relevant discovery in his case against Coffeezilla. Now, of course, Coffeezilla and the attorneys for the two men that he's subpoenaed are saying, no, 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 this is not relevant. He's asking for very broad evidence and it's not specifically targeted. Basically, what they're saying in a nutshell is that Logan Paul's on a fishing expedition and wants to just get whatever he can get his hands on from these guys. So let's look at, first, Logan Paul had a motion to compel them to comply with the subpoena, and then we'll see what the two parties had to say about why they think he is not entitled to the documents and information he's requested. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Earthbreeze Laundry Detergent Sheets, and I know you're going to like this product because I really love it. So I have sensitive skin. I react a lot to like dyes and perfumes and other chemicals that get put into household cleaners. And so I've gone through my house and I try now to buy only things that are more natural and have no additives and chemicals and colors. The latest thing that I've switched over is my laundry detergent because I found that was one of the worst offenders. And I looked at what goes into the laundry detergent. I just can't believe the amount of chemicals and dyes that go into it. And so Earthbreeze sent me a sample to try out. And let me tell you, this product is really cool. So they sent me the fresh scent one and they sent me the fragrance free one. And I've used the fragrance free one because, again, of my skin. And simple paper packaging that you can recycle. And you get these sheets that they look like dryer sheets, but they're not. They dissolve in the water. And here I'll show you an example of, I put one of the sheets into this bowl of water so you can see how it completely dissolves, leaving nothing behind. It's just amazing. And let me tell you, it cleans the clothes just as well as any of the detergents that I was using. And one of the things I really like about this not having any of the additives is in your regular laundry detergents, you know how they always talk about they leave your clothes bright? Well, this leaves your clothes just as clean, but they put these optical brighteners into the laundry detergent that don't really clean your clothes at all, don't add to the cleaning process, but they trick your eyes into thinking the clothes look brighter, and then they leave residue on your clothes. And like I said, even though it gets rinsed in the wash, I can still feel it when there's stuff in the laundry detergent. I can feel it on my clothes. And I'm very happy with the clothes come out just as clean, and I'm happy knowing that there isn't all that stuff in there that's going to irritate my skin or that's going to stick to my clothes. If you want a powerful clean without the harsh chemicals, then I recommend that you try Earth Breeze. Right now you can try Earth Breeze for up to 40% off, plus get 4 free gifts if you use my link, which is here on the screen, or you can scan the QR code and give it a try. You've got nothing to lose, like I said. They have the money back guarantee policy. I promise you, you're going to love it, and you're not going to want to go back to using those terrible detergents again. We're just going to go through like the beginning, like introductory material in these. We don't need to get into all of the law and all of the argument. I just want you to see what Logan Paul is saying and then what the other two who were subpoenaed have responded. So Logan Paul says, plaintiff's motion to enforce and compel compliance with third-party subpoena to Don Holland. Don Holland is the guy who was like the first person in the class for the class action lawsuit. Says plaintiff Logan Paul moves the court for an order compelling non-party, because he's not a party to this Coffeezilla lawsuit, which is important. Don Holland's compliance with a document subpoena issued to Holland pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 45 after defendants indicated an intent to depose Holland and noticed his deposition, meaning Coffeezilla's team had noticed Don Holland and they wanted to depose him for this Coffeezilla and Logan Paul lawsuit. Paul served a limited document subpoena on Holland that was narrowly tailored, and you'll see in a minute why this is not really true, narrowly tailored to seeking materials directly relevant to the scope of the testimony defendants are expected to elicit from Holland. Through his counsel, Holland objected to the subpoena in its entirety, refused to produce any responsive documents, and subsequently ignored multiple good faith attempts by Paul's counsel to meet and confer. Meet and confer is usually when one party objects to discovery, the parties will usually confer to see if they can get around the objection and maybe come to some kind of an agreement on what will be produced. And what they're saying is basically Don Holland's team was like, no, we don't want to have anything to do with it. We don't want to give you anything that you're asking for. Subsequently ignored good faith attempts by Paul's counsel to meet and confer. There being no legitimate basis for Holland to resist compliance with Paul's subpoena, Holland should be ordered to promptly produce responsive materials. Now, we don't need to get into the whole background. So now let's take a look at what Don Holland's counsel replied to this. So this is non-party Don Holland's response to plaintiff's motion to enforce and compel compliance with third-party subpoena. And you'll hear what their reasoning is, why Don Holland, who's not a party in the lawsuit with Coffeezilla and Logan Paul, should not have to produce all of this information that Logan Paul is trying to get his hands on. Mr. Paul's subpoena seeks information that is both overbroad and unduly burdensome and outside the scope of discovery for this case. Mr. Paul served discovery requests on Mr. Holland that were unlimited in content, lacked concrete descriptions of the items sought, and covered a swath of information that is irrelevant to the issues at hand. As Mr. Paul noted in his motion, this case is pending simultaneously with Mr. Holland's class action lawsuit against Mr. Paul, in which Mr. Paul is alleged to have conspired with others to defraud Mr. Holland and others by collecting investments for the CryptoZoo game that was never built, and which Mr. Holland alleges Mr. Paul and his cohorts never intended to build. The parties in that case are awaiting the court's order on Mr. Paul and others' motions to dismiss, and discovery has not commenced. Yet Mr. Paul makes requests here that are clearly targeting the claims in Mr. Holland's case. Mr. Paul's subpoena should be narrowed to encompass only the issue of this case, and all discovery in the class action should be withheld until both parties are able to engage in that process. So what he's saying is, Logan Paul has basically said, I want all of these communications. And he doesn't say, I want this communication or that, or I'm specifically dealing with this issue or subject. He basically wants all these documents that have anything to do with Don Holland and Coffeezilla and their interaction with each other, which is ridiculous because Don Holland is not a party to the case, and presumably whatever information Coffeezilla is going to get from Don Holland is going to be produced to the other side before trial, so that will be legitimate information that Logan Paul would be entitled to, is to see what evidence is going to be used for Coffeezilla to defend himself. And that would include the deposition of Mr. Holland. However, Mr. Holland's attorney is saying he's not entitled to all of this broad amount of information that's not dealing with the defamation case between Coffeezilla and Logan Paul. And basically, they're saying Logan Paul is really just trying to cast a wide net and go on a fishing expedition to bring in as much information as he can get his hands on to use in the other lawsuit, the class action. Now let's take a look at what the person who received the other subpoena, who's an attorney in the class action lawsuit said. So this is non-party Thomas's motion to quash subpoena to produce documents and motion for protective order. So he's seeking the court to quash, basically to nullify the subpoena and not require him to have to produce according to the subpoena. It says on February 27, 2025, plaintiff Logan Paul's counsel served a subpoena to produce documents in a civil action on non-party Thomas Kirker. The subpoena purports to require production of all communications between Kirker and Stephen Findyson, aka Coffeezilla, or any other person purporting to act on behalf of Mr. Fin or the Coffeezilla YouTube series concerning CryptoZoo and or Logan Paul. The subpoena required compliance by February 28, 2025 at 5 p.m., less than 1 business day after service. Now, this is absurd because when you do interrogatories, we call them, when you ask questions to the other side or you ask for production of documents, there's usually a time frame set out in that particular state or the federal rules of civil procedure. You know, it's usually anywhere from like 14 days to 30 days in order for the other side to get this information. And to ask for a 24-hour turnaround is absolutely absurd. Not only that, but I agree that it's overly broad what Logan Paul is trying to get, and it's really not anything that has to do with this particular case, and it's more what we call attorney work product. So, and you'll hear what they're arguing here is basically that. Kirker is an attorney of record in the case of Holland versus CryptoZoo Inc., filed on February 2nd, 2023. Plaintiff Logan Paul is the named defendant in the Holland case, and the subpoena represents an inappropriate attempt by Paul to obtain Kirker's protected work product. Because the subpoena is overbroad and unduly burdensome in that it requests materials and information protected by the work product doctrine and consulting expert information, Kirker respectfully requests this subpoena be in all things quashed and stayed. Kirker further requests that the court enter a protective order protecting Kirker from disclosure and production of the materials identified in the subpoena. They're saying that Logan Paul can't see any of that because it's attorney work product meant to be used in the class action lawsuit, and therefore it would be totally inappropriate for Logan Paul to see all of that information, particularly when that class action lawsuit is still ongoing and that's information directly relevant to how they are prosecuting the case there. So I totally agree that he should not be entitled to all of this broad information. I mean, if he's had some specific conversation or a specific date or specific subject that he wanted to really narrow it down to and give a good reason why he's entitled to it, then the court might allow him to obtain certain information. But Logan Paul is basically seeking all communications between all of these parties, and that's highly inappropriate in my opinion. And so my guess is the judge is not going to enforce the subpoena, but we'll wait and see what happens. Let me know what you think down below. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I will let you know after the September hearing what the court is going to do. Are they going to combine the two lawsuits, or are they going to let them continue in the two separate U.S. district courts? We'll find out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be back at my regular desk with Sybil the Enforcer in the next video. Hope you guys had a great summer. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Take care of yourselves, love one another, and I will see you in the next one.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.